my wife stood up in the middle of the Christmas party, raised her glass, and announced that she would leave the country with my 2 children, forever. In front of friends, colleagues, relatives, and me. Just one sentence is enough to kill a marriage. But what she didn't know was I'd been waiting for that moment for 3 years. That Christmas, at a snow-covered mansion on the outskirts of Connecticut, a seemingly perfect, powerful family fell apart before the eyes of 20 guests because of a betrayed husband and a cold and cruel revenge plan. I used to think I had everything in my hands: a leading company in the private security sector, a luxurious home in a quiet suburb in Connecticut, a beautiful wife, 2 obedient children, and an unshakable life. But what I didn't see was the thing that silently broke everything. That Christmas morning, I stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom, adjusting my tie, observing the wrinkles around the corners of my eyes. They are not signs of age. It's the traces I traded to build an empire. Each wrinkle is a loss of sleep, a time of holding back laughter in a room full of people lying to you the price of always being 3 steps ahead of your opponent, not being allowed to make mistakes. My name is Alexander Russo, 45 years old this year. From being a child porter at Boston Harbor, I went from nothing to becoming the CEO of Sentinel Intelligence, a private intelligence company sought after by Fortune 500 corporations. My success comes with fame, and that reputation doesn't always bring pleasant things. It is rumored that I never forget who betrayed me, that I don't forgive, that I never lose if I decide to play. They said it in whispers, because everyone knows confronting me was an irreversible mistake. I have never paid attention to rumors. Until that morning. Sophie, my 8-year-old daughter, ran into the room, her skirt fluttering like small wheels rolling on the wooden floor. "Daddy?" The girl shouted, her eyes shining. "Grandma's here. She also brought you a special gift, saying there's no need to wait anymore." I smiled until she spoke again. "It's a pendant. There are pictures of me, Mom Leo, and Grandma, but no picture of Dad." Sophie pouted, as if it was strange but not worth worrying about. She said, "There's no more room. There are no more vacancies." I swallowed that sentence like a cold stone, cold from my throat to my chest. Still smiling, I bent down to kiss her forehead. "That's it. That's a special gift. Now go down and help Leo set the table. The guests are about to arrive." The little girl ran away. I stood alone, quiet. I know Vivian Montgomery, my mother-in-law, never liked me. In her eyes, I was just a country boy who rose from the bottom of society, someone unworthy of entering her prestigious family. She still maintains that attitude over the past 15 years, just more refined. But giving him a family pendant and intentionally excluding me, that is no longer a hidden meaning. That is a declaration of war. What's more annoying is that Brooke, my wife, doesn't seem to mind. For months now, she's often canceled weekend dates. Charity, business trips appear more and more often, and I'm being left further and further behind short phone calls. Eyes avoided. And Leo, the boy who used to beg me to teach him how to play chess every night, now doesn't even say hello when I come home. I'm not a skeptical person, but I built this company with my ability to read people, and the feeling that someone is quietly manipulating my family becomes clearer and clearer day by day. Someone is pulling the strings behind the scenes, and I thought, I know who it is. But I need proof, I need confirmation. And luckily, it just arrived. Downstairs started to get noisy. The sounds of dishes clinking together, Christmas music blaring, and the smell of baking spread throughout the house like a sweet blanket, covering something rotting inside. I strolled down the stairs and saw the first guests starting to arrive. Service staff crept like shadows. The lights on the more than 6-meter-tall tree sparkled, reflecting on the decorations we collected during nearly 2 decades of marriage. But today, that light does not bring warmth. It was a creepy feeling, like I was about to enter the battlefield, and no one but me knew the battle had begun. "Be there on time as usual," a familiar voice said. Maxwell Price, my MIT best friend, put his hand on my shoulder. "You're the only person besides me who knows the truth, and today he brings the missing piece of the puzzle." I nodded and led Max into the private office where only one person could enter without knocking. The door closes. Outside, sounds died out, as if we had just closed an invisible layer of soundproofing from the rest of the world. "Scottish?" I asked. Max shook his head, more serious than usual. He took a small USB from his pocket and placed it on the old mahogany table. "You won't like this." I took it. I would never shoot a messenger, Max. Silent. He looked at me for a long time before saying, "Vivian closed 3 accounts last week, moved nearly $2 million into offshore funds, and..." He paused. Prescott Caldwell appeared in most of the communications. Prescott. That name is not unfamiliar. CEO of Blackline Security, my direct competitor for the past 7 years. That guy always tries to steal contracts, play dirty, and secretly spread false information. But now, he even interferes in my family's affairs. I put the USB in my vest pocket, hiding the cold feeling that had just crawled up the back of my neck. "They plan to act soon," Max said quietly. "Maybe right after the holidays." I nodded and slowly poured 2 glasses of wine. "Chess," I said, raising my glass, "is a game of those who can see the next 3 moves, not the next move." We clinked glasses. I sat at the dining table with 24 guests that night, like every year. Still the same suit, still the right smile, still the appearance of a polite host. Brooke sat at the other end of the table. Perfect, red dress, subtle makeup, wavy hair. But his eyes were empty. The person's eyes were about to disappear. As always, Vivian sat close to Leo, whispering something in his ear. Leo didn't turn to look at me once. I cut the grilled meat, nodded to thank the waiter, put the dish on the plate. Every gesture was proper. But in my head, it's an entirely different chessboard. Every piece, every move, every emotion of the people around me. I see it, and I know, when it's my turn to strike, everything will end in just one move. 5 years ago. I started to see the first signs. Not an immediate betrayal. No strange messages. No one called at midnight. There is nothing specific to accuse, just a vague feeling, something that professionals like me never ignore. Brooke started coming home late more and more. Charity galas suddenly appear on the calendar. She said that's the job of the Scholarship Foundation, where she serves as executive director. I believe, or at least I pretend so, because I used to love her, and some part of me still wants to believe. But when she opened a separate account, transferred nearly $1 million from the joint account, and said it was project expenses, I knew. There's no doubt about it anymore. I was put in a game I did not agree to participate in. I can confront. You can pound the table file for divorce and bring a lawyer. But I don't, because I'm Alexander Russo, and I don't act when I'm angry. I only act when I am sure of victory. Instead, I stepped back. Let things happen. Let her think I'm engrossed in work. Let Leo think I'm too busy to care. Let Vivian believe that the plan is progressing as expected. I let them stay away from me, intentionally, and while they think I'm blinded by money and work, I'm quietly watching. I recruited more people to join the internal security team. No one knew they only reported directly to me. I attached a recording device to Brooke's conference room at the charity's office. I asked Max to set up a system to track hidden financial transactions. I hired Daria, a former military agent I trusted more than anyone, to track the journey of Prescott and the partners involved. I built a surveillance system unlike what I used to solve international crimes, and I discovered this wasn't just a wife's betrayal. This is a whole network. A sophisticated fraud organization led by Prescott Caldwell himself uses wives to approach, manipulate, drain rich husbands' assets, and then disappear with the children. It's not just money, reputation, career life. And innocent children are drawn into the game. I am the 8th target, but I will be the last. Over 3 years, I let Brooke gradually transfer $30 million into accounts she thought I didn't know about. Every transaction is recorded, every call backed up, every meeting with Prescott. There are photos and navigation. I'm not just watching. I even led them into a trap. I created a series of fake accounts shell companies that only existed on paper. I simulate assets that have high value but are essentially useless. I did whatever it took to make them believe they were winning. And when the time comes, when everyone has fallen into their place on the chessboard, I'll checkmate. No more moves needed. The sound of glasses clinking softly echoed throughout the banquet table. The wine has been filled. Dessert had just arrived. Hot chocolate fondant, smooth vanilla ice cream, fresh strawberries scattered around the white ceramic plate. The light from the above chandelier reflects into the glass, covering the whole room with a festive aura. Outside, heavy snow covered the yard. The perfect setting for a warm Christmas night until she knocked on her glass. The silver spoon touched the rim of the crystal glass. A slight, clear sound, but it immediately silenced the entire party. Brooke stood up. I didn't turn around right away, just gently put the fork down. My hand remained calm. But the heartbeat, I heard the beat in my chest. "I have an announcement," she said. The voice is not loud, but clear and decisive. "As some of you know, I have been considering an important life change." I looked up. Brooke looked straight at me. Eyes no longer avoid. They confront, coldly, resolutely. I accepted a job position at an international educational institution, and I'm moving to Europe. The whole room was silent. With the children, I heard a spoon drop. Someone choked their voice. Leo looked down. Sophie widened her eyes, looking at her mother bewildered and then at me. "Without you," Alexander Brooks said, "the kids don't want you in their lives anymore." For a moment, time stopped. There was no sound of cars running on the street, no wind sound, no breathing sounds. It's just me, sit there, alone, before his wife's eyes, sons from mother-in-law. Of more than 24 guests trying to pretend not to witness the tragedy of a family falling apart right before their eyes. I picked up the glass of water. Take a sip, then put it down. Nod slightly. "I understand," I said, my voice even. "So, when are you guys leaving as soon as tomorrow?" Brooke replied quickly. "The luggage has been prepared. The tickets have been booked. All procedures have been completed." I smiled, very light. "Before I go, I said I have a little gift for everyone." I took out my phone and pressed a button. Immediately, the main door opened. A man walked in carrying a tray of small gift boxes neatly wrapped in dark green foil, my favorite color. Roland Pierce, I introduced, my legal advisor. Roland placed each small box next to each person's dessert plate. Every step he took was as if he were counting the music beats. When he reached Brooke, Vivian, and Leo's location, he placed larger, heavier boxes. "Please," I said, "let's all open at the same time." Some guests are still hesitant, but then, as if someone signaled, the wrapping paper began to be removed. Inside are crystal chess pieces. Each person has a different piece name engraved on the foot. Chess is my hobby, I said, my voice calm. Each of you is a part of the chessboard of my life. Some people are carts, some people are knights, some people are bishops, and some people... I turned to Max. He was holding the crystal queen. Is the queen. Small laughter spread across the table, but then it turned off quickly when everyone's eyes turned to the 3 larger boxes. I looked straight at Brooke, Vivian, then Leo. And you 3, the gift is a little more special. Brooke gently opened the box. She was a little shaken. I don't know if it was because of a premonition or simply because it was cold. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I've been waiting for this moment for 3 years. The box opened its lid. Not a chess piece. It's a small screen, compact, sophisticated, and when touched, immediately glows. The first voice that came out was not hers, it's Prescott's. The video is clear and undeniable. Brooke and Prescott in a hotel room, sitting close together, exchanging looks that only lovers would give each other. Next is the conversation. We can have it all. When I went through the procedures to transfer the Sentinel shares, Alexander didn't even realize, don't forget to give it to Mom. She's the one who turned Leo away from him. Voices, images, date, and time. Everything is recorded. Exactly, indisputable. Brooke froze in place. Her face was pale. Next to her, Vivian opened her box. It's the same screen, but contains closed meetings with offshore banks. There is even a scene where she tutors Leo to study, including words like, "Your father only knows about money, doesn't care about your feelings." Every sentence, every scene. Like knives cutting into the lies they have built up for many years. Leo slowly opened his box, not videos. It's a leather notebook, compact with a metal clasp. The baby is smaller, lighter, but heaviest. The boy opened it. Inside is my handwriting. Each page are fragments of memories. The day you were born, the day I kicked my first ball, taking notes about my hobbies, and each match I sat quietly in the car because my son said he didn't need his father to come. The times I reread my child's learning emails in the middle of the night. The times I stood outside the room listening to my child play the piano. There are also pictures, photos taken from afar, scrap notes, and one line, "I don't need you to see me, but I always see you." Leo sat still, hand holding the book tightly. Eyes widened, then started to turn red. Then a tear fell onto the page. Brooke whispered, "What is this?" I stood up. "Chess," I said, "is a game of patience. Whoever moves too fast often reveals an opening, but whoever moves slowly and sees the whole board will always checkmate." I spun around the table. Look at each face. For 3 years I let you think I didn't know. Let my wife think I was blind. Let my mother-in-law believe I was an impotent husband. Let my son gradually grow cold without intervening. I looked at Leo, because you need to see it for yourself. Not hear from anyone, not even me. I turned back to Brooke. You think you're winning, but you don't know. You're playing another chess game. As for me, I ended this game a long time ago. I pressed another button on the phone. The big screen behind the dining table lights up. Live video footage of the FBI entering Prescott's headquarters. He was handcuffed. Geneva accounts frozen. Each character in the organization was cited. The whole room was silent. 7 men have been fucked by you exactly like me, I said. Betrayed by my wife, hated by my children, deceived into bankruptcy. But I'm not the 8th person. I'm the one who ends this game. I stopped. Place your hand on Leo's shoulder. I once asked Dad if he was a bad person. Now I have the right to answer for myself. Leo said nothing, but the boy leaned his head against me first time in almost 2 years. After the whole house fell silent that night, I sat alone in the library. No more glasses of wine, No more Max Roland or Daria. No more games, no more opponents. There's only me left, and an unfinished chess game. Leo knocked lightly on the door. I looked up. The boy had changed into his pajamas but was still holding the small notebook I gave him that night. "Are you still awake?" I nodded. Leo walked in and sat down across from me, where Brooke used to be back in the day. I read it all. He said, his eyes red. Page by page. I was silent. "Don't rush in. You know everything, but you still let everything happen." His voice was no longer angry but confused. "Because if you tell me, I won't believe it. If you stop me, I will hate you even more. There are lessons. You have to see for yourself to learn truly." Leo bowed his head. "I'm sorry." I gently touched my child's hand. "It's not your fault." It looked up. "Did Mom ever love Dad?" I took a deep breath. "Yes, for a long time. But you know what? Having a lover, not everyone knows how to keep it." We both sat still, and Mom, "How are you now?" It continued to ask. Detention, then trial. But she has the right to legal protection, and I will not let the media drag you and Sophie into that vortex. This is our home. This is our life. Leo pursed his lips, then nodded, slowly. "Will Dad be here?" "Dad never went anywhere, Leo." I stood up. "Reach out to your son." It took hold, for the first time in many years. We walked out of the library. Sophie was asleep. She even hugged the teddy bear tightly when she dreamed. I kissed his forehead lightly. He smiled even in his sleep. Leo stood at the room door, whispering, "Are we going to be okay?" It's not easy, but it's possible. "So, tomorrow, Dad, will you teach me to play chess again?" I laughed softly. "Sure." When the doors closed, I returned to the library. Turn off the lights. Standing alone in the dark, no more pain, anger, just silence. I lost a wife, but kept 2 children. I let them believe a lie, but then I chose the truth, even though it's painful, although lonely. Because in the end, in any chess game, there are pieces that are sacrificed to protect the most valuable thing, the future. Thank you for watching until the end. If this story touched you somewhere, please leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to watch the next stories, where the truth always finds its way, and justice has more shapes than we think.